Here in my garage, just got this new... Hello, my name is Jesse Hu. This is going to be the first video that I ever have on my YouTube channel, and it's going to be in the form of a shop tour because I feel like that's a good thing to have as a first video. So yeah, let's get started. Up first in the tour is my 25-ton Cole Ironworks forging press. It is a beast of a machine. The only thing that I had before this was these guns right here. Sadly, this thing is a little bit more powerful. I have on it a pair of super wide flat dies, which is super good for like final straightening. I have over here some H13 combo flat dies and drawing dies. I basically use these the whole time. Like I don't use the flat dies a lot. I also have this twisting wrench that I used to make twist Damascus. It is super janky, and I don't even know if this weld is actually a legitimate weld because I don't think you can weld the cast iron, but it works. It's good enough for now. Moving on is my anvil. This thing is a beast. It is 365 pounds of solid steel. It is from S&S, and it was made in 1950, which is 5 years after World War II. It's actually really cool because this was made in a different way than pretty much every other anvil on the planet. The top half is forged steel, and the bottom half is cast steel. So it has the benefits of the super hard forged steel like anvil face, but it also won't like crack down the middle because the bottom is cast. On the side, I have my forging tools. I have 5 hammers. I have a doghead hammer, a crossbeam hammer, and the rest are rounding hammers. This is a square circle rounding hammer, and these are both rounding hammers. The funny thing is that I only use 3 pairs of tongs when forging. That's really not a lot of tongs. I need to get more tongs actually, and I'm currently learning how to make better tongs for myself. This is a pair of tongs that I'm working on right now. It's not the greatest, but I've been putting a lot of time and thought into what makes a good pair of tongs. Like, I want to be able to create tongs that I can use for the rest of my life and not feel bad about it. So that's those. Up next, we've got my post vise. The post vise is actually super like useful in any forging environment. It acts as a third hand. I don't need to have a striker. I don't need to hold something and be afraid that it's going to go flying. Like if I'm working on the very end of a tang of a knife, like I can just clamp it in here and hammer it, and it's all fine and dandy. It's kind of rigid because my stand is made of wood, and it's not the most stable, but this is pretty much all I need. I'm going to build a metal stand for it later. Up next is my forge. This is a 2-burner habanero from Chile forge. It is kind of a monster. It runs really efficiently in terms of fuel. Like I can do regular forging work off of 1 burner and 5 psi of gas, which is really crazy because that's not a lot of gas. I can get at least 12 hours out of that 30-pound tank. It is sitting on top of my first ever fabrication project. It's kind of ugly if you look at it super closely, but it's also super convenient. I saw Liam Hoffman make his own cart on Instagram, and I was like, I need to have one of those. And so I got a welder and got some steel, threw it together, and it's pretty much perfect. It got me a lot of likes on Instagram too. That's also a really good plus. There's a lot of stuff on this stand. I don't need to go too deep into detail about it. This is a soda keg full of quenching oil. It is Parks 50. I was too poor to get an actual quench tank before, so I'm stuck with the soda keg. Up next, we have the really janky old forge stand. It's actually just a garden table that I found in my backyard. Currently, it acts as just a place to store some blade stock and some stuff I'm working on at the moment. Here's some choppers. This one is cracked. It's trash. This is the new one. Moving on from the general forge area is the grind area. This is I don't even know what to call this. This is like some vortex funnel that I already melted because it's made of plastic, sitting on top of this thing, which is probably toxic at this point. And I have this fan that is very underpowered, but this all works well enough. Whenever I work with wood, like I don't need to worry about having wood dust fly everywhere in the garage. Like it's all self-contained now. But in terms of metal, I don't actually use this at all times because it can actually burn through it. which it already did. So moving on from the dust collection system is my first ever grinder. This is a 2x72 3-speed KMG from Beaumont Metalworks. It's kind of a beast. It did everything that I needed to, and it still does whatever I need it to. It's just a little bit less fancy than the grinder to the right, which is a KMG TX grinder that can tilt. I haven't used the tilt feature that much yet because I haven't had any projects that needed it, but when I need to use it, it'll be there. It runs off of a 2 horsepower motor connected to a variable frequency drive. This thing is so fun to use. Like 3 speeds compared to infinite speeds is an infinite difference, obviously. Moving on from the grinders is the belt racks. There's 6 of them, and they all hold different kinds of belts. I have like super fine 400 grit belts, 36 grit belts, old belts, and some surface conditioning belts, which are, they're okay. Here is the extent of my woodworking equipment. It's a Ryobi bandsaw that I got from Home Depot. It sucks. I have a 6-inch heavy duty buffer that has 1 buffing wheel and is black, even though I use white compound for some reason. Yeah, more belt storage, some old equipment over there, and a $100 welder that I got on Amazon. Up next is another beast of a tool. This is I think it's a 17-inch jet drill press. It is so nice. It is super rigid. If I open it up, I have the option to choose between 12 different speeds. It's not variable speed, unfortunately, but that's good enough for me. Up next is my one and only tool chest. I did not have this before this summer. I don't even know how I stored all my tools before, but now I store everything from drill bits to clamps to a single Swiffer duster, some small screwdrivers, tape, like it's just everything that I could like pretty much ever need right now, like angle grinder stuff. It's super convenient. I love it. On top of the tool chest, I have a bunch of random stuff. Here's a box of wooden cutoffs. Here's some drills and impact drivers, like just stuff that I use on the go. Over here, I have some contact wheel attachments for my grinders, some steel, a file, a cracked chef's knife blade, my giveaway knife that I'm currently working on. One cool thing though, this table changes heights. I feel like that has some use. This is my welder. It is a flux core welder that I got at Home Depot. It runs off of 110. Right now it does everything that I needed to. It put together my cart, and the cart's still standing, so I guess it kind of works. Moving on, this is one of the tools that I got most recently. It is a horizontal grizzly bandsaw with like a coolant system. It's kind of a beast, like a lot of other tools in my shop. I've got it specifically to make mosaic Damascus because you need a horizontal bandsaw for that. I have some stands over here that help me hold much longer stock. So this right here has a very special purpose. This is my welding table. As you can see, we're now indoors. Here's a conglomeration of old knives that I made. This one has a serration that's a little too big, so it kind of sucks. I have over here probably the most overpowered vise you'll ever see in a residential setting. It's just sitting on a desk. This is actually the place where I do all my hand sanding. It's very high tech, as you can tell. It's just a 2x4. I have these clamps to help me hold my piece when I'm hand sanding. I've got my sandpaper back there, my etching machine for my Maker's Mark, which I finally have. Moving on, this is the table where I do all my sharpening. This is my like stropping block, 1000 grit, 3000 grit, my bucket of water. It's very, very high tech, as you can tell. Moving on, I have a bunch of super, super cool wood down here. This is all Australian wood that I got from Creative Soul Timber on Instagram. This all here is Tasmanian blackwood, which is one of my favorite woods ever. I'm going to stabilize it eventually, but now I'm just letting them dry. I have a hammer. That pretty much wraps up the shop tour. It's probably a lot less extravagant than you guys thought, but it's there and it works, and that's pretty much all I need. If you enjoyed the video, press the like button, and if you want more content, press the subscribe button, because That's what the subscribe button does.